bring up the next speaker, we are bringing truth here. Estamos trayendo la verdad. If you poll the overwhelming majority of the people, including the voters in this community, over 90% will not even know that our local elected officials have signed and co-sponsored legislation to legalize and embolden the cartels, the street gangs, and the human traffickers by legalizing prostitution, because that's what they're doing. So we, from today is August 17th, we're going to start building this coalition in Queens, right here. And we're going to ask everyone in Whitestone, in College Point, in Bayside, in Briarwood, to start. We're going to start with Queens, and then we're going to grow it out. Everyone should know who are our electeds and politicians who want to bring this plague onto our community in our streets. And so we're going to fight that fight, and we're declaring that war today. Today we declare war on those who want to destroy our community. Lastly, we're going to hear now from someone who really doesn't need an introduction. People talk about his red beret, but then they talk about me always wearing a tie in 90-degree weather. So we're going to bring on none other than a guardian angel extraordinaire, Curtis Sliwa. Curtis, come on up.
Thank you, Harry.
Yeah.
Thank you to all of you for fighting this fight. Perhaps as free as I am supporting to become the city council person in a district in this area that's dedicated his life. You've seen all of his videos. He's brought this to the nation, international attention. I have experience having done this crackdown on prostitution in Times Square and Hell's Kitchen back when crack was destroying this city. And that was in Manhattan. And I remember the vehicle in stopping the open trafficking that was taking place was to get the absentee landlords shut their building down, and if necessary, take the building over. Because let's face it, these landlords say, well, I don't know what's going on in my building. I'm down in Delray, Florida, you know. I'm down in Palm Beach. I have no idea. Of course you do. You have building management. And so you must threaten them with taking and seizing their property, and then you get their attention. The other thing is you got to name and shame the Johns. They're getting arrested, not as often as they should. They're taking the train often, 7 train, or in cars, and they think that every woman who walks in the streets of Corona, East Elmhurst, or Jackson Heights is a prostitute. And that's a violation of the entire neighborhood. To grandmothers and mothers and other women who just want to go about their business without being solicited. I can tell you this. There is a bill, as Hiram Monstrad mentioned, it was put up by State Senator Ramos. You know her well. She partnered up with Cuomo. Remember, how did that work out for her in the mayoral primary? But it was Cuomo who actually signed the legislation. I remember when it was announced that State Senator Ramos was proposing a bill, anti-loitering laws, that would give anybody a right to walk down any street, take their clothes off, man or woman, and sell their bodies on a residential street. I said, there's no way that Cuomo was going to sign that bill. Well, not only that, he became no cash bail Cuomo. So not only was he a friend of the criminals there, he was a friend of the prostitution business. So A, we got to go after the landlords. We got to seize their property, padlock those apartments or those commercial spaces in their property that are being used where the women will take the Johns and perform an act for money. Number 2, we got to name and shame the Johns. There should be a billboard with all their names and who they are, and if necessary, find out who they work for, where they're from, name them and shame them so they never come back in this neighborhood. And we cannot ever have a Zoran Mandami as mayor.
Never.
Who would allow this kind of prostitution that plays.
No Mandami!
No Mandami! No Mandami! No Mandami! No Mandami! No Mandami!
In this campaign, as I run for mayor as a Republican, I've been in all 350 neighborhoods. Remember, in nearby Astoria, you don't have open prostitution. Yet, AOC is in favor of it. Zoran Mandami, who lives there and represents that area, is in favor of it. How come it's okay for Corona East, Elmhurst, Jackson Heights, and across the Grand Central and downtown Flushing, but we don't see it operating on Ditmars Boulevard or near Astoria Park? So clearly it's do as I say, but not as I do. So I challenge Zohar Mandami. If you believe that there should be open prostitution in all 350 neighborhoods in all 5 boroughs, which he's gone on record as saying, then I would suggest that he start by inviting prostitution right outside of his rent-subsidized apartment that we know he lives in and shares with his wife in Astoria. Notice it doesn't exist there. And then finally, there's sex trafficking going on. I've gone into these streets with Ramsey Frias, who his videos have depicted the open, brazen sale of people's bodies right in the face of everybody. They're forced to have to live in this kind of a circumstance. These women, they're either being brought in from Venezuela and they came in with the migrants, or they're Asian women. And many of them have been sex trafficked in. So it's part of the narco-terrorism, the sex trafficking that exists that have brought in these ladies from Asia, Central America, and South America. So that's why I concur with you, Hiram Montserrat, that the FBI needs to be involved here. The federal agencies need to be involved here. Because if we're going to say that the cartels are terrorists, which they are, I concur with the president on that. They are terrorist organizations. Then why are we allowing the terrorists to sell women from all over the world, sex trafficking them in, boldly, brazenly, smacking us in the face with it? Then the Fed should come in here and shut it down once and for all. Shut it down, because if not, then let it allow it there. So why do they allow it here? So I promise you, if you're good enough to elect me mayor, I've walked these streets of Corona, East Elmhurst, Jackson Heights, and Flushing with the Guardian Angels for years. We will shut it down like we shut it down in Hell's Kitchen and in Times Square in the 1980s. I swear to all of you, that is my vow. Thank you.
Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!